I'm Christine Stavropoulos.
Κι εγώ, ο Νίκος Σαμίδης.
Maybe you were born in Athens. Or maybe your yeah was.
Ίσως μεγάλωσες μιλώντας σου ελληνικά. Ή ίσως είσαι το ξαδελφάκι που φεύγει για Ντουμπάι για δουλειά για 1 χρόνο μόνο.
Wherever you are in the world, if Greece lives in your heart.
Αυτό το ταξίδι είναι για σένα. Φύγαμε. Welcome everybody on the third episode of the Greek Podyssey of the 2. Hello Christine.
Hello Nico.
How are you?
Good, you're looking very dapper.
You looking very summery, I could say.
Well, I feel a little bit summery, so I put out in blue
I want
and
to
green.
touch this. It's silky.
I thought it had a nice sort of Greek island feel, and it suits our
It's
decor.
beautiful. You look gorgeous. So today we have a beautiful episode, another episode for a beautiful audience. Ancient Greece versus the nowadays Greeks, and Greece, the broken mirror. So actually, what is it? Do we still live under the shadow of our ancestors, or we have something to show up and to continue our legacy?
Let me start off by saying there are so many people that comment that there is no ancient Greece. We don't have an ancient history. That our history started from the revolution in the 1800s to the revolution. You can't separate that though. We've been continuous through the days of Socrates, through adversity, to where Greece is today. So explain to me how you call it a broken mirror.
Okay, so most of the people, it's hard for them to connect, and I'm talking about the ones that they don't believe that the nowadays Greeks are the continue of the ancient and classical Greece. So it's hard for them to connect the Hellenes with the Greeks. But our nation is Hellenic Republic. Ελληνική Δημοκρατία. And we are very much connected with our ancestors. We should say that Greece is a Latin word. It's been given after. So it's not what we use, it's what the other people use for Hellas. Okay? Do you agree with that?
I agree, yes, we were Hellas, yes.
So why it's hard for these people to connect that, and we as Greeks, are we really connected? Do we live under the shadows of our ancestors, of our history, or we have a very steady grounds now, these days, as Hellenes and as Hellenic Republic?
I don't think we live under the shadow. I think our forefathers, and in ancient times, was such a strong force that it's still referred to around the world. I read something interesting. It was, are we more Socratic or are we more Dionysian? So to clarify the differences between each one, Socrates was a philosopher. He taught us to think, to question, to use wisdom and to communicate. Dionysos was more about passion, was more about fire, music, emotion, fun.
And he was a god.
Yes. So when we look at how those two elements were molded from ancient times, we were very more Socratic back then. It was more the philosophers and the orators, and very much Socrates was a force, a very strong force back then. As we progress though to modern Greece, we became a bit more Dionysian. We embraced passion, heart, dance, soul. And I think through the adversity of wars, through economic struggle, through occupation, that there's been a bit of a shift from being very much Socratic to a balance of the both. We now have passion to rebel. We have fire, we laugh, we dance, but by the same time, we still ask questions. The Socratic comes into it.
So let me put that in a scene.
Yes.
So we philosophize with a glass of wine in our hands.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yes.
Combines both of it.
Absolutely. Nico, you just hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it is. Over enjoyment, Greeks still have the Socratic elements that has probably traveled in our veins, in our DNA.
Do we still own our wisdom, Christine? Do you reckon?
You mean as a country or as individuals?
As individuals.
Look,
As Greeks. as Hellenes.
I can't say every individual has wisdom because
Yeah, of course, never.
I've met a few people that are quite the opposite. But as a nation, when you look at, we're a small population that's endured a lot. So if there's one word to encapsulate what Greece is and who the Greeks are, it's resilient.
Of course, yeah, okay.
Our resilience stands the test of time. Are we still creators? I very much believe we are. We still create art. We create medicine. We are, without sounding, look, it's easy to sound a little bit patronizing or conceited, but we are the cradle of civilization, and Athens is still spoken about worldwide with those ancient elements that connect to us. So no matter how much people say, you know, you're from this, or you're Albanian, or you're all the stuff that we get on our social media, which is entertaining for us. We love the engagement. We are still Hellenes that are connected to our ancient roots through those philosophers and mathematicians,
Our history.
astronomers. Our history.
We're connected
we own
with our
that
history. How we cannot be connected with our history? Whoever doesn't have a history, it's
got no
just
roots.
an open castle. Everyone can walk in and take over. That's what it is. History is like a very strong wall that surrounds a nation. If a nation doesn't have history, it's nothing. And Greek history is very big. It is very important, very big, and it's been taught to, as we said, to other podcasts, to the universities, to everywhere. So we, as new Greeks, of course, we are connected with this history and the neoclassical history and the new history, like the modern history, if you want to say so, when we were under the Ottoman Empire for 400 years. No one knows what would have happened to Greece if we weren't under the Ottoman Empire occupation. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. On the flip side, an example of our resilience is we could very easily have seceded and fought, and today we would all be speaking Turkish. But the resilience under occupation to maintain our identity, to maintain our religion, because orthodoxy is very much closely entwined with our culture.
Of course it is. It's one of the main contributors.
Our faith in our religion, to maintain our religion when you're under an aggressive occupation, to maintain your language, and we're talking 400 years, we're not talking 10 years, 400 years. That is, if nothing else, the true testament to our resilience. But going back to what you said about history, every country needs to keep its roots and its history. One of my concerns when all the nations, we developed this monster called the EU with no borders, my concern was, and then having flag raising and ethnicity seen as being ethno-racial or whatever. The danger for me was that the new generations would abandon their ethnicity, their roots, and their history. So sometimes you have to fight for that, because there are forces around you that want to make you abandon that. Because when you abandon your roots, you have no identity. If you have no identity, you have no strength.
If you have no history, you have no identity.
Exactly. So don't try to erase history. Don't try to rewrite history, which is a lot of that is happening right now around the world.
Yes, it's happening. And the truth is that the West, they do see our ruins, but do they see the reality now? They see all the Acropolis and all the marbles and everything, but do they see what's the Greek reality now? Or are we just for them a history?
I have a differing point of view on that. I think when people come to see our history and the ruins, they're more in awe of it than what a lot of people in Greece are. Because I've seen in Athens, in Plaka, people live amongst the ruins. And I still walk around thinking, wow, where am I walking? I've seen ladies put their washing on top, or their shopping on top of it. They literally built next to ruins. And they become so blasé. They live amongst the ruins. I don't think they actually appreciate the value and the wow factor of that. When foreigners, tourists visit, They, I think, are blown away.
Sorry, I know what you
It's
mean, but imagine something. You born in Athens, in the legs, let's say, of Acropolis, at Koukaki, Theseo, or whatever, these
yes, my
areas.
dream. Yes,
Your views for Acropolis, seeing it every day when you're waking up in the morning, when you're walking outside on the streets, will be much different of some people traveling miles away to come and to admire it. That doesn't mean that they're not admiring it. They don't respect it as much as the others, but it's part of our everyday life. And that's what makes us Hellenes.
your backyard.
Exactly right. For example, Thessaloniki, all the city, and in Athens and many other cities, has been built on the top of the ancient cities, on top of the Roman agora. Or you see when you taking the metro and you're going from station to station, you
It's
see what
everywhere.
was underneath to build up this metro. That's why in Thessaloniki we had a metro after 50 years after it's been announced.
Look, civilizations have melded and molded and influenced. So there's our Hellenic civilization, which was influenced by other civilizations in history, just like the Greek civilization influenced Roman. There's Roman elements in ours. I was in China, I don't know how many years ago, and I saw them in Chinese antiquities in their museums.
Yeah.
So civilizations have crossed paths, have evolved, but to say that our history, we have no ancient history because we're a hodgepodge of different cultures and we didn't become Greece till 1821. Sorry, guys, that's wrong.
Yeah. But do we perform because the people, the world expects it? It's a performance or it's a real attitude?
But before we listen to Christine's views, let's go to our contributors. The information shared in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered legal or financial advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek professional guidance specific to their individual circumstances. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the Greek Podyssey or its producers.
Good evening from Athens. I'm Natasha Karamethou, legal advisor and solicitor in Greece, and in this podcast, we will continue exploring land registry challenging topics through questions and answers. What does it mean to have a property registered under unknown owner? Properties of unknown owners are a tricky problem for the government. According to statistics, approximately 400,000 properties are considered to be of unknown ownership. Properties of unknown ownership are defined as properties, for example, lands, apartments, that do not belong to a specific person. Although they appear in the land registry, the property is listed as of an unknown owner. According to the provisions of the 1998 law, such properties are considered to be of unknown ownership and become the property of the state when the first registration becomes final. What happens if a property of unknown ownership is not declared? If, after the deadline for correcting the initial registrations is passed, the owner of the property has not taken an interest in correcting the error, then the property automatically becomes the property of the state. Although the property becomes the property of the state, the owner does not lose his or her right to the property. Thus, he or she can claim it if submitting a correction request. What is the procedure for correcting the initial entries for properties of unknown ownership in the land registry? The application is drafted and submitted by a lawyer to the court of location of the property. The case is then heard. During the trial, it is examined whether the applicant has the right he or she claims over the property. If this is the case, then the correction of the land registry sheet is ordered. The aforementioned application must be notified to the Greek state and recorded in the registration sheet of the property within 10 days. If the application is accepted, the entry in the land registry is corrected. Otherwise, the applicant may bring an action against the Greek state. How do I register a property in the cadastre? Can I do it myself? You can submit a declaration in person, or it can be delivered by courier at the local land registry offices, but you can always submit it online for most geographical areas. Required documents for this action should include declarations D1 and D2 according to 1995 law, copies of the rights of the contracts, proof of deposit of a fixed cadastral fee, photocopy of identity card or passport, any document showing the tax identification number of the property owner. Additional documents for a complete and correct registration of the declaration may include a photocopy of the transcription certificate of the relevant land registry office, as well as a topographic diagram. To avoid mistakes during registration and facilitate the process, an experienced professional should assist you collecting the necessary documents and submitting them to the land registry operating under official authorization or power of attorney. The National Cadastral Code number is the unique 12-digit number for its property, which can be used to easily and quickly search the cadastral database. Every registered property has its own unique CAEC. Every organized country is entitled to an organized national land registry. In Greece, we are not far away from its completion, since more than 70% of the Greek territory has already been declared. We have been facing challenges during the organization process, it is true, but we all need to participate in the effort and declare our properties. This is how we aim at the simplification and acceleration of the procedures for the transfer of real estate, the refund of unduly paid fees, the registration of registrable acts, and the correction of cadastral records in the regime of a functioning cadastre. This is how we avoid complex administrative procedures and lengthy legal disputes.
People find it hard to let go of, they romanticize that period. It's a very romantic, the statues, the gods, the philosophers. It inspires it's imagination and time travel. I think a lot of people travel to Greece to live that, and they want us to show them that. I truly believe it's like when people come to visit Australia, they think they're going to see kangaroo jump. They have this preconceived idea that, oh, you live amongst kangaroos. No, we don't. This is who we are. This is who we are when we're Australian. I think when people travel to Greece, they have this preconceived idea of everything being ancient and ruins, and we have evolved, but we've taken that to the next level.
Exactly. And I want to say now, like, if you walk, every tavern is an agora. Every argument is a philosophy. We still got the same fire in us. We still argue. We still have this passion to do all these things, but we might not be in the ancient Acropolis or wherever. Everything has been evolved. So there is an evolution. So there is an evolution in everything. We can't still sit on the ancient marbles and talk. We have taverns, we have cafeteria, coffee shops, and I'm pretty sure that we're still doing the same things as Ranchester did, but in a more modernized way, if I say. But let's go to Lucas, and we're coming back.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode where we discover another part of Greek bureaucracy and doing business here. In continuation from our last episode, we spoke about how to apply for a tax file number and certain things to look out for. We will also go in this episode more about dual taxation and how that can affect someone wanting to do business in Greece that comes originally from another country. So as we said in our last video, when we initially set up a tax file number, it will be automatically classified as your Greek tax resident abroad. So someone that lives abroad but does not live in Greece for more than 6 months a calendar year. This means that once you move to Greece, or if you're planning on spending more time in Greece, once you click over that 6 months, so 180 days, you're automatically classified as a tax resident of Greece. That can have implications, as then you're obliged to disclose your global income sources and assets, which means that countries originating like Australia that do not have dual taxation agreements with Greece mean that you are potentially up for double taxation. It is really important to understand before you make a big step or a big move to Greece to look at where are my income sources coming from. Is it rental property? Is it income tax? Is it a business that's generating income for me? And how will I be affected if I do change that tax residency in Greece to become a Greek tax resident? Countries typically that have dual taxation agreements, like for example Greece and Cyprus or Greece and the UK, mean that corporate earnings or personal income taxed in, let's say, Greece, cannot then be taxed again in the other country because the dual taxation agreement has certain protections. Now, obviously, every dual taxation agreement is specific and unique, and they do have their particular articles that relate to trade and business between the two countries. And obviously, please consult with your personal accountant before you make any big step. But double taxation is very, very important. And especially when you're considering doing business in Greece, do also think, okay, well, how will this income or this property or Airbnb affect my tax in my home country like Australia, where there's no agreement? And you are potentially up for being taxed twice or being taxed the difference depending on the country's local tax law. So it is really, really important to consider all of these factors and also consider how can we structure things differently. We also do help with financial structures so that we can minimize and be smart with our tax, especially offsetting expenses and things like that when you're dealing with multiple jurisdictions.
When you look at the diaspora of Greeks around the world, there is an element of culture that connects us worldwide because we're not living this in Greece, we're living it in other countries. So those roots of antiquity, like you said, the debating, the fire, all those things that we identify as Greek people, philosophy. You know, the men that play tavli when they sit down and they play their backgammon, that's a game of philosophy. They're talking, and while they're playing, they're having these philosophical discussions.
And that's why Greeks have the longest coffee time than everyone else in the world. We can sit with a coffee for hours and philosophize. And that's the reason, because we love doing that. So for me, the light is still there, still shines. The mirror might have cracks, but the light comes through this crack.
Exactly. The mirror's cracked, but we've put it together in a different shape. And I believe that if we maintained our identity after 400 years of Ottoman occupation, we will not ever lose our identity. There are people that see the mass migration now coming to Greece from Middle East or whatever, and yes, it has changed the landscape of what Greece was in the 60s or 70s. To me, that was a different world. But these people that have come along, and you see their kids learning Greek, their kids taking part in Greek parades. Yes, the face of Greece has changed, but the Greek spirit still continues. I can't see it ever being erased, so we become so homogenized that we have no identity anymore.
Have we been modernized to the level to lose our Greekness as Greeks?
There's a danger of that. There's always a risk. With globalization, there's always that risk. I see Americanization coming into a lot of elements in Greece, in language, in commercials, TV commercials. Honestly, guys, why do you need to add English words into that commercial? You know, you're in Greece. You're selling a Greek product. All those elements of Americanization is filtering in, and then those kids, Westernization. But by the same token, I see the young, they may adopt those new trends, let's call them trends, but then they will love just as much to take part in a traditional panigiri. So they find a balance between.
So something did survive.
Yes.
So something has survived from all these. And I'm very happy with that. I feel very good that something has survived from all our history, although that we've been through all these. We still got our temperament. We still got it.
Our temperament?
Yeah.
God, I know.
Yes, of course.
I can be a firecracker when I have to.
Do you think that we shouldn't have this attitude? Now, Hellenes are different people of what they used to be. And that's true. We're different. We're not Socrates, we're not Plato. Do you think this is a good thing to happen?
Yes.
Of course.
We have to evolve. If you're not evolving, you're not creating, you're not discovering, you're not questioning. And I think the true essence of what the ancient Greeks taught us was always question, always change, always learn. Because once you stop doing that, you become boring. You stop living, you stop creating. So yes, we have changed and we have to be adaptable to changing trends around the world, but still remembering where we came from and what we've endured, and to pass those traits on to the following generations so that fire, that spark, that Socratic balance continues, maybe in different ratios, but it still burns bright.
I agree with you. And there is, of course, a deep connection with the old Hellenes and the new Hellenes. There is a connection. Might be a difference. We might be in 2025 and not 300 BC, but our nation, as an ideology, is still there. And it's strongly connected, the past and the now.
Exactly.
For me, it might be, as I said, a broken mirror, but this broken mirror has light coming in through its crack.
You know what, Nico, the more adversity you live through, the more dimensions it gives you. So I think once we lived through so much adversity, you grow from adversity. You don't grow from good times.
You grow through struggle. That's true. That's very true.
So it's how you approach that struggle. Are you going to let it break you, destroy you, or you're going to fight that and grow from that adversity as a better person, a more learned person? And I think that is the essence of the Greek spirit. We tackle adversity as a nation and we grow from it and we go to the next level.
It's exactly that thing. It's or we win or we learn. Never lose. There is no lost game here. Or we win or we learn. We always have benefits from that. And I think now, these days, as I said to other podcasts, that we're doing the comeback after what happened to us as a nation. And there are many things. Because after the Second World War, Greece went through very different stages.
Mass migration.
Migrations, civil wars, poverty, everything. I think we're getting there. We're building up again a strong nation.
I think I need to express this. Everybody is subject to adversity. Let me give you a little bit of Greek spirit to everybody. Everyone goes through adversity. Don't let it break you. Adversity is a challenge in life. You never give up. You rise above it as much as you can. And you know what? If it gets too hard, you put up your hand, and that shows strength. When you want to ask for help to help you through any adversity, you will come through it and you will be stronger and you've learned from it. So when the next adversity comes, you've got the strength from the previous one to see you through the next one. And I think that's a very important point to make. Never give up.
Never give up. There's this thing that wisdom, it won't survive in chaos. Because when you are in chaos, the survival mode kicks in. So you discard all the other things. And the only thing you have in your mind is to survive.
We've got to leave it there, Nikomu.
I think we are in a good way. And I would like to hear what other people have to say about this. And thank you very much for being my co-host.
Thank you. I always enjoy sitting here with you and having these in-depth discussions. But please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. On YouTube, of course, you can see our studio. And please comment. We loved your comments and feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Till the next one.
See you in the next one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm Christine Stavropoulos.
Και εγώ ο Νίκος Σαμίδης. Και αυτό είναι το Greek Podyssey, το podcast της Ομογένειας.
A podcast for Hellenes worldwide, sharing stories, culture, identity, laughs and a little bit of tsugrisma along the way.
Γιατί μπορεί να φύγαμε από την Ελλάδα, αλλά η Ελλάδα δεν έφυγε ποτέ από μας.